So, The Elder Scrolls being among my favorite video game franchise, if not my favorite, um, I have to say that, well, I know I'm going to make a lot of people mad out there. There are only two good games in the entire franchise. And in my opinion, that would be Oblivion and Skyrim. However, there is only one good role-playing game in the entirety of the Elder Scrolls franchise. That would be Morrowind. However, I think that Morrowind is indeed a terrible, terrible, terrible game. But one of the deepest role-playing games that I've ever seen, and personally, after buying Morrowind last year, I simply could not get into the game. I even left a negative Steam review on it, just recommending to people that are new to it and are coming from the newer Elder Scrolls games that they should probably not play it because they'd most likely just be wasting their money. So I say this in the sense that Oblivion and Skyrim are way better of games than Morrowind could ever dream of being, but Morrowind is just a way better RPG. So Ryan, what are you leading into exactly? What are you kind of going into? I'm talking about the fact that, well, in Elder Scrolls 6 is bound to happen. Take into consideration that it takes about 3 or 4 years for Bethesda to crop out one of their huge RPGs, Bethesda Softworks games. So, what should we be expecting out of an Elder Scrolls 6 if Obsidian doesn't make that, fabled New Vegas 2? Well, honestly, I want to hear about the fabled Morrowind 2. In case you're wondering why Morrowind was such a great RPG but an awful game, Morrowind simply had awful game mechanics, really bad AI, and just a few concepts that have just aged really poorly. Like, seriously, just watch Morrowind gameplay and you'll understand what I mean. But however, the game links you to the story, guild factions, and little things like that so much. Now, of course, I wouldn't know any of this because I've only put 9 hours into the game, and about 5 of those hours are just trying to make a new character and get a fresh new start because of how damn hard the game is. So let's say that the next big Bethesda Softworks game is not a new Fallout game. Now, of course, you guys can be like, oh, but there was like a year between New Vegas and Skyrim, so Ron, what are you even talking about? It takes them like at least a year to 2 years. Well, technically, if you're talking about the link between Skyrim and, the game that came right before it, you'd be talking about Fallout 3 and Skyrim, because Fallout New Vegas was not, Fallout New Vegas was not made by Bethesda Softworks, they were made by Obsidian. And then you can take the link from Skyrim to Fallout 4, which would be 4 years. So, 3 or 4 years, give or take. And then you can take the link between Oblivion and Fallout 3, 2 years, then Oblivion to Morrowind, 4 years, so on average, about 3 years. The moral is 3 or 4. So, of course, Fallout 4 being 2015, we can expect a new Bethesda Softworks game coming in 2018 or 19. Jesus Christ, I'm going to be old. So, once again, let's say that Fallout will not be the next big Bethesda Softworks game, and that they're going right back into their cash hoard, The Elder Scrolls, my personal preference between the two beloved Bethesda franchises, making the fabled not Morrowind 2, but Elder Scrolls 6. And should this game be a Morrowind 2, bring back the old hardcore, not really appealing to casual gamers, just kind of, back to bare bones gameplay and real RPG stuff and factions and all that, well, yeah, it should. But what kind of game that Morrowind is should not be the type of game that The Elder Scrolls 6 is, in the sense that Morrowind, like I said, is a really, really bad game. But one of the best RPGs, if not the deepest one that you're ever going to be able to find on the Steam market or just anything like that. That was a mouthful. Because I honestly do not like Morrowind. I couldn't get into it. I feel like I wasted $20 and I may request a refund. I'm not sure. I may just try to hold on to it for a little while longer to try to see if I can try to get into the game. But other than that, I genuinely cannot get into Morrowind because I can't. So, when we talk about the Elder Scrolls dumbing down, of course, we can talk about basically like just Fallout 4 barely being an RPG, which was still an awesome game, just of course not a very good RPG. And the same can be said about Skyrim, except Skyrim was more of an RPG, but still, at the end of the day, just a better game than RPG. And Oblivion was kind of like a hybrid, just half and half. So, first we should talk about the type of gameplay that The Elder Scrolls 6, I don't know, Argonia should aim for. Well, it's pretty obvious that The Elder Scrolls 6 should have the combat and exploration and just kind of engine of Skyrim, just, improved upon a lot. In the sense that, well, the current Bethesda engine is very, bad. Which, it is. And really, it certainly is an improvement over time. I gotta say, it's just kind of been getting more buggier, even though it's been feeling a lot more immersive and human with the whole Radiant AI concept. Now, a lot of the gripes I find with the whole Elder Scrolls dumbing down are really dumb things like important characters not being able to die. Well, what about Radiant AI? People could just die, and the main quest line would be ruined, and you'd have to restart a new character, hoping that something that wasn't in your control can be, stopped. So, this is a bad choice for Bethesda because, as a business, Bethesda has to make money. That is the entire reason they make games, for the cash, and of course, just the concept of throwing something out there and seeing how people react to it. Of course, the endless amount of people that gripe about Fallout 4 for not being a true RPG are probably fat and still live in their mother's basements. Which, oddly enough, I am fat. My room is in my basement, so I don't really have a lot of room to talk. So, at the end of the day, I think that there has to be a big conflict in the game between multiple factions, not just two, different ideologies, and ways to approach this huge threat that is coming from, I don't know. Because this is a kind of concept that's been pretty explored within the games. We have the dragon threat amongst the conflict among the Stormcloaks and Imperials, and then the whole Oblivion crisis in Oblivion with tons of guilds having to figure out what the hell they're actually going to do to save the world, basically. Of course, we need to have that, and I think Bethesda needs to give players a choice. Now, this sounds really, really explorative and probably something that'll add at least a year or two onto the concept of making a new Bethesda game, Elder Scrolls 6, is that there needs to be a choice presented at the beginning of the game before you make your character or do anything, and that is if you are hoping for a really good RPG experience or just a good game mechanically, one that will be easy and for a more casual crowd. The first choice being something along the lines of Morrowind, and the second being along the lines of Skyrim. Of course, it can't change the game up that much. It can't completely change the story. All I think that it should do is, if you're playing on the hardcore RPG route, then depending on what faction you're in, that should affect your standpoints and their standpoints on you from different factions and all that stuff, and ultimately how those factions can help and aid in your assistance of completing the main storyline. All the more casual is just kind of, free, easygoing, more like Skyrim, where you can basically join any faction with no repercussions and casual. Don't touch me, you filthy casual. I basically got a lot of these concepts just by thinking back at Morrowind, just kind of wondering, I should have gave that game a better chance, which honestly I probably won't because that game just isn't good. Now I know a lot of you guys are blind by your nostalgia saying, oh, Morrowind is mechanically fine, the dice rolling system is fine, the combat is fine, there's just so much going on. That's no excuse. A lot of things are going on behind screen that they didn't focus on things that are happening on the screen. In conclusion, The Elder Scrolls 6 needs to be the game that Skyrim and Oblivion strive so hard to be, with excellent, just a good engine, gameplay, combat, all that stuff. But it has to have the substance, the RPG elements, and all that stuff of Morrowind in order to make itself good. Build relations with people. I don't even know. Just one thing I think they should not do from The Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind other than, combat system, is the concept of not having quest markers, because that is very frustrating. You're a filthy casual. I feel like I should still give directions if you want to have that kind of choice. But, yeah, I think that it doesn't have to be a complete mandatory thing. So anyway, yeah, that's all I really wanted to say. I don't even know where this video came from. I was just watching a lot of videos of Morrowind being the best RPG ever, and all that fun stuff. So, if you enjoyed this, subscribe, stay wet,